Today we are going to discuss about some natural phenomena. So what are these natural phenomena which are happening in the nature? There are so many phenomena happening in the nature. We are discussing about certain natural phenomena which are destructive in nature, which cause damage to the mankind, which causes loss of life. In class 7, we learnt about storms and cyclones, which are destructive. Cyclones, they cause a huge destruction of property and also lives. Recently we have seen Chennai is flooded because of cyclones. So the Chennai floods, they have shown how the life will be shaken, disturbed by the natural phenomena. Chennai is a big city. Even though it is a big city, because of the cyclones and floods, everything got disturbed. People are not able to get water to drink. They don't have electricity. They don't have basic amenities, food, everything. So they suffered a lot. Here we are seeing the causes, the effects, impacts, but how this is caused? It is caused by natural phenomena. By discussing about the natural phenomena, by understanding the physical nature of this natural phenomena, we can find certain remedial measures, preventive measures to avoid the problem. By studying about the cyclones and storms, we can estimate the cyclones, so by that the government and organizations take steps. They can keep all the necessary materials ready if it is a cyclone or a flood. So likewise. So that is the necessity of studying about this natural phenomena. So already we studied about cyclones and storms. Now in this class, about which natural phenomena we are going to discuss. The first one is lightning. The second one is earthquake. Lightning. What is lightning? Lightning is a kind of spark that we see in the sky. During storms, we see the lightning. When it is windy and cloudy, then you can see that an electric spark coming from the sky, big sparks. So these lightning is very dangerous. It can cause death of people. It can cause damage to the trees and buildings. So the lightning is a natural phenomena about which we are going to talk about. The other one is earthquake. Earthquake is a disaster, natural disaster, which happens because of the shaking of the earth. The earth on which we are standing is composed of so many plates called tectonic plates. Due to the adjustment in the tectonic plates, there will be tremors, shivering or shake in the plate. So as the plate is shaking, the people, the houses, whatsoever objects are there on the surface of the earth are shaken, and this is called as earthquake. Here also there is a lot of damage, mass destruction, old buildings are destroyed, many people are killed because of these earthquakes. So earthquakes and lightning are the two other natural phenomena, destructive natural phenomena, which we are going to discuss about in this lesson. First, let us talk about lightning. Lightning is a kind of a spark, but till the physics behind this lightning is known, it was a mysterious thing. It was a spiritual thing. In olden days, in ancient days, people used to believe that it is something from God. It is maybe because of the war between gods, according to some philosophies. They don't know exact reason, the physical reason behind this, the scientific reason behind this. Till the scientific reason for this lightning is known, it is a kind of mysterious thing. Even now, many people, you see, you ask your grandfather or grandmother, if they are not educated, they say it is because of something mysterious. It is a result of something which happens in the other worlds. But is it true? No. So we have come to know the scientific reason for this lightning, how it happens. Whatever the lightning we see in the sky, it is a very big electric spark. What is that? Electric spark. So I told you that it is a big electric spark. How to believe my words? Yes, there are many people practically, experimentally, scientifically proved that that is nothing but an electric spark. Generally, where do we find the electric spark? See, when there is a loose connection to the electric wires, then you can see an electric spark. Sometimes near a transformer, sometimes you will see electric sparks. If two wires of a transformer, if they get attached with another, positive with negative, then you will find sparks coming out of that. Right? If there is any short circuit in your house, if any plug, any wire is damaged, if two wires are get joined with opposite charges, there you will see electric sparks. You can see an electric spark in your lighter, gas lighter also. When you press the gas lighter, one spark will come. This is the body of the electric lighter. This is the point at the center. This is the lighter. This is the electric lighter. You will press it like this. It will give you a tick sound. When the sound comes, one spark, it travels from this point to this metal edge. One spark will travel. Electric charge is traveling from here to here. How it is traveling? We can see that. How we can see? We can see it in the form of a spark. Electricity is traveling from, electric charge is traveling from one body to another body. Now there is no wire between this rod and this edge. No wire connection. In the air it is traveling. While traveling, you can see it in the form of a spark. If you take a vehicle, engine, motorbike, inside the motorbike there will be a spark plug. If your vehicle is drowned in water, your vehicle doesn't start because the spark plug is wet. It cannot produce the sparks. So if you wanted to start your bike and ride your bike, in your bike engine continuous electric sparks must be produced to make the fuel burn. That spark, the electric spark, is nothing but lightning. But it is on a large scale, this is on a small scale. Whatever the spark you see in the lighter, it is on a small scale. Whatever the spark we see in the sky, it is on a large scale. The charge is big, here the charge is less. That is the difference. The rest of the thing same. We find the charge, electric charge, passage of electric charge from one body to another body at many instances. You worn a polyester shirt. The polyester shirt will be rubbed against your body. When it is happening, there will be some sparks produced between your shirt and your body. You don't believe that. Certain sparks are produced. Certain crackle sound will come when you wear a polyester shirt. If you wear a garden silk, synthetic cloth, there will be some sparks. You will get some sparkle sound. But the sound is small, you cannot hear that. If you go to a dark room and take off your polyester shirt, you can see that your hairs are standing. At the same time you can notice certain sparks. These sparks are produced because of the transfer of electric charges. So it happens at a very small scale. Though it is happening at a very small scale, you cannot notice it. Sometimes when you rub your body with certain cloth, your hairs will stand. It is because of the electric charge. Right. So at many of the instances that happen around us in our day-to-day life, we can see that the electric sparks and electric charges being transferred from one body to another body. In the same way, the electric charges are traveling in the air from clouds to some other point in the ground, earth. So how the electricity is traveling? There are no wires connected to the clouds. So it is traveling in the air. its traveling can be seen in the form of a light, that is lightning. Let us see some more facts about this lightning. So let us see 600 BC, in the ancient time, the ancient Greeks, they know about the charged bodies. So they did some experiments. The ancient Greeks, they used to rub the amber with fur. They knew that if amber is a kind of resin from trees. The amber is, if it is rubbed with fur, then the amber will be attracting certain light objects like hair. So how it is attracting? It is getting charged there. With a fur cloth or a woolen cloth, you can charge a body. Right? So different materials will be charged by rubbing with some kind of materials. So you can take certain suitable materials and rub each other and see whether they are getting charged or not. You can make a table of that. In 1752, Benjamin Franklin, he proved that whatever the transfer of charge happening between two objects is similar to the natural phenomenon lightning. It was given by Benjamin Franklin. But anyway, it took very long time to practically accept that, practically see that. So here the transfer of energy, transfer of electricity from one body to another body. The body is getting charged by phenomenon, some physical activity, by rubbing. It gets charged. Right? So this happens, which we can visualize it, practically see. You might have played a game like taking a plastic scale, rubbing the plastic scale on your hair. Now your hair, the plastic scale get charged. If you keep the plastic scale near small paper bits, the paper bits are attracted by the plastic scale. By this rubbing, you are charging the plastic scale. You are rubbing the plastic scale on a dry hair, you are charging it. Right? So this charged scale is attracting the small paper bits. In the same way, you can take a refill, you can rub the refill with a polythene, then the refill will attract certain paper bits. Of course, the polythene is also getting charged. When you are rubbing two objects, both objects get the charge. You can take a woolen cloth or a fur cloth, you can rub over a glass rod. It will be charged. So they will attract some light objects. So when they are attracting light objects, you can say that the body is charged body. So when the rubbing takes place, some charge is produced. That is what happens in the clouds. When the clouds hit each other, rubbing takes place, certain charges are produced. So these charges are passed from the clouds to the ground in the form of a lightning. So that is the reason why we are talking about this activity. The rubbing creates some electricity, electric charges. The bodies get electrically charged. So now let us look at the types of charges. We discussed that charges are produced. We discussed that a body can be charged. But this charge, is it a unit charge or two different charges? Let us see. Here we have different activities. This is activity A. Here you have taken two balloons. They are hanging freely. Now I have taken a woolen cloth and I rubbed a balloon. This balloon I rubbed it. And after that I rubbed the second balloon with the woolen cloth and I brought both the balloons close to each other. What happens? When I bring the second balloon, which is rubbed with a woolen cloth, close to the first one, this one also rubbed with a woolen cloth, this is also rubbed with a woolen cloth. If both the balloons are brought together, then they get reflected. You can find that repulsion. They repel each other. They move in opposite directions. So let us go to the second case, case B. Here I have a glass tumbler here. In this, I have taken two refills. So the first refill, this is the first refill. I rubbed it with a polythene. I rubbed it at this end. I rubbed it. Carefully I placed it in the glass tumbler. So when you are doing these activities, you must notice one thing. You must take an important precaution that after rubbing the surface, you should not touch the surface with your hands. Right? Here we have rubbed the balloon. Don't touch the balloon with your hands. hold it with the string, hang it with the string. In the same case here, when you rub the one end of the plastic refill, do not touch it with your hands. Carefully place it in the glass tumbler. Now the second refill. The second refill also rub with a polythene paper. Then place the second refill also in the beaker, in the glass tumbler. So what happens? Here, in this case also, the plastic refills, they repel each other. Right? Now go to the case C. Here, we have taken a plastic refill. The plastic refill is rubbed with polythene. The plastic refill is rubbed with polythene and it is placed in the glass tumbler. The balloon is rubbed with a woolen cloth. Now the balloon is brought close to the plastic refill. Here the balloon is attracted. The plastic refill and balloon, they get attracted. They get attracted. Attraction. Here, repulsion. In this case also repulsion. So by this activity we can understand that charges are of two types, two kinds. Right? There are two different charges. In case of similar charges, repulsion takes place. In case of opposite or unlike charges, attraction takes place. So can you tell in which case there are opposite charges? In this case, because both are getting attracted. That means the charges are opposite to each other. So that is the reason why they are getting attracted. In these two cases, the charges are similar. Similar charges repel. Repulsion takes place. In case of the balloons, two balloons are rubbed with the same woolen cloth. Same kind of charge is produced. So there is repulsion. Go to the second case. Two refills, both are rubbed with polythene paper. Similar charge is produced. If you place both of them close to one another, they repel each other. Similar charges repel each other. Go to the third case. Attraction takes place. The refill is rubbed with a polythene paper. Balloon is rubbed with a woolen cloth. So here the charges are different. So the attraction takes place. So what at this point we understood that charges are two types and attraction takes place between similar charges and repulsion takes place between like charges, similar charges. Right? So we have seen the charges are of two kinds. Say here is a glass rod. So here when a glass rod is rubbed with a silk cloth, basically it is a convention that when a glass rod is rubbed with a silk cloth, it acquires positive charge. Positive charge. So now a plastic straw, it is rubbed with some polythene. If you bring both of them close, if they are getting attracted, what does it indicate? This is having negative charge. Because you know that the opposite charges attract. In the previous activity we have seen. So charges are of two kinds, positive charge, negative charge. Now these are the charged bodies. The bodies are having the charge, electric charge. So this electricity is called as static electricity. Why it is called as static? It doesn't move. It doesn't flow just like electric current. It doesn't flow like electric current. It is not like electric current. Electric current is which flows in the circuit to make the bulb glow, to make the fan run. That is electric current. There the charges, they flow continuously. It's a flow of charges. Here the static electricity doesn't flow. So that is the difference. Here the static electricity having that two charges, positive charge and negative charge. Now let us see how these charges are transferred. Let us look at the transfer of charges. So we have seen how to make an object charged. That means creating some electricity on an object, static electricity. The object is charged, it is carrying some charge, either positive charge or negative charge. So how to transfer this charge? Let us see. So for this we are taking some equipment to do an activity to understand it. We are taking a glass jar, a glass jam bottle you can take. An empty jam bottle you have taken. So here you're going to take, what else we need? A jam bottle and a paper clip. paper clip. See that the paper clip is made out of some iron, steel coated iron clip, not of plastic or plastic coated. It doesn't work for our experiment. Not even a painted paper clip. These days colorful painted paper clips are available. Not that. You need to take a metal one, because as we are working with the electricity, metals are good conductors. Metals are good conductors of electric charges. So better take a metal paper clip, and you take a cardboard, because we are going to hang the paper clip to the cardboard. Cardboard is a insulator, and you need a refill plus polythene paper. So here empty jam bottle we have taken, and we have taken a paper clip. Actually paper clip will be like this. The paper clip, just uncoil the paper clip and take this cardboard, make a hole, and see that the paper clip is hanged like this. Fix the paper clip to the cardboard like this and bring that arrangement. The cardboard is a little bit bigger than the mouth of this bottle. Place the cardboard here like this. So this is one end of the paper clip, this is the second end of the paper clip. Here we need to take aluminium foil also. Aluminium foil, this is very important. So the aluminium foil, the size is, you can take 4 centimeter into 1 centimeter, 2 pieces you can take. So you're going to keep the aluminum foils here. So see that there is some gap between the foils. 2 foils are hanged to this paper clip. Now this is which we made to observe the charges, transfer the charges, and see their effect, right? So we have taken a metal clip, aluminum foils of size 4 centimeter into 1 centimeter, 2 foils we have taken. So this is in a undisturbed state. See that the foils, they move freely. They are not very tightly fixed. You cannot see the effect. The whole thing is undisturbed. This is a simple electroscope. Now take a charged body, refill. Get it charged with polythene paper. Rub the refill with a polythene paper. Now bring the refill here. So this end is rubbed. Now touch the end of the refill to this paper clip. So whatsoever the charges are there, these charges get transferred to this. The charge is transferred to these aluminum foils. The aluminum foils get deflected like this. They get opened. They move apart. They repel each other. Why they repel each other? Because only one charge is supplied here. Both the foils are receiving the same charge. Like charges repel. We know the fact. Like charges repel. But you can see that the charge is transferred here. Right? The charge is transferred from this refill to this one. We can see that visually. The charge is transferred. How can you see that? There is a movement. There is a repulsion in the foils. Yes, you can notice it. Yes, the charge is transferred. Now they are repelled. The charge is transferred to these foils. We know that these charges are static electricity. They doesn't move by themselves. They are to be transferred. Otherwise, they will be staying there. Static electricity. Right? So these foils, they get opened. Now we remove the refill. The charges are transferred to these foils. Here you are keeping your finger. You are keeping your finger. So when you touch it with your finger, then the charges, whatever the charges are there here, these charges are passed to your finger, from your finger to your foot, and foot to the ground, earth. So whatever the charges you are touching with your finger, the charges, they go to your finger, from your body they will reach the earth. This is called as earthing. This is called as earthing. So if a body is charged, if you wanted to decharge the body, remove the charge of the body, then it has to be earthed. means connected to earth by some other means. When you touch this, these foils, they will come to normal position again. Why they will come to normal position? Because the charge is taken by your hand. From your hand, it is passed to your body, to your legs, and finally it reaches the ground, earth. The charges are taken by the earth. So it becomes neutral, normal. Once again, you can bring some charger body, these foils will deflect, repulsion takes place. So this is the way the charge which is created, it will be taken by the earth by some means. If it is not there, the charge will be there itself. That is the reason why earthing is done. Right? Earthing is very important. See, if you are using electronic appliances or home appliances which work on electric and electronic appliances, they get charged. You are putting the electricity connection, the electricity is flowing through them. But sometimes they get charged with electricity. If they are not grounded properly, if some earthing wire is not connected, you may get a shock. Right? So this charge, it should be earthed. So every house, it needs proper earthing. Otherwise, these electric charge get accumulated and may damage the particular appliance, or you may get any shock or any other problem. So that is the importance of earthing. These days, all the houses are done with earthing. They will take one particular wire, a metal string or wire, a metal plate is connected to the ground. Inside the ground, they will put some charged materials like coal or salt in the soil, and they fix a plate, good conductor, that is either brass or something. So by that, the charges will be easily taken by that earth wire, and these charges are grounded, which is very important. So this is the earthing. When you touch this, the charges present in the aluminum foils, through your finger, they will be grounded. So our lesson is lightning and earthquakes. In the some natural phenomena, we are talking about lightning and earthquake. So we began with lightning. Lightning, the history of lightning, people doesn't know about the real fact behind the lightning. So they are worried. So they felt it is a mysterious thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's a divine thing. Or it's a kind of thing belongs to other worlds. But later, it's found that it is a scientific phenomena, natural phenomena. But we left the topic there, and again we discussed about some charges and all such activities, because those activities are connected to this, the story of lightning. The relation, now we are going to find the relation between the lightning and the previous activities we discussed about static electricity. So the lightning also happens similar with that static electricity. What happens? When you work with balloons and refills and glass rods, how the bodies get charged. In the same way, similar way, the charging takes place in the clouds and in different objects on the earth, which results in lightning. So clouds, you know that the lightning usually happens when it is cloudy and rainy. So here are the clouds. It is raining. The raindrops are traveling in this direction from clouds to the earth surface. On the surface of the earth, we will find trees and other objects, tall buildings, trees. So the water droplets are traveling in this direction. The air currents, they travel in this direction. You see these opposite directions. The raindrops are following this direction. The air currents are moving in the opposite direction. So it makes to get certain charges accumulated at certain places. What charges get accumulated at what places? On the top edges of the clouds, positive charges get accumulated. Positive charges. Whereas on the lower edge of these clouds, negative charges get accumulated. Negative charges. In the same way, on the objects on the earth, positive charges get accumulated. Positive charges on these objects. So here the accumulation of charges is taking place. Now air is a poor conductor of electricity. Even then, when these charges they reach a magnitude, when their magnitude is high, when the amount is high, then these charges they get discharged. So this discharge, it may take place between cloud to cloud, between these two clouds, the clouds which are positively charged and negatively charged. It may happen between the clouds and the objects on the ground. So here is the negative charge, here is the positive charge. It gets discharged. That is to reach the earth finally. Right? So when this electric discharge takes place in this tree, this object. So what happens? This huge charge may lit the fire. If the electric charge is properly grounded, it is taken by the ground, nothing happens. Otherwise, it may cause damage. See, for a tree, the tree doesn't have anything for the proper earthing. So the tree may get burnt because of the lightning. Buildings may get damaged. But however, the scientists are studying how to control the charges. Nowadays, the recent buildings are fitted with lightning conductors. So the top of the building, they will be placing one metal object. So the charge will be discharged to this point. This metal object will be safely connected to the ground by grounding wire, earth wire. So this lightning conductor, it will take the charge to the earth, not to damage the building. That is the reason the recent buildings, big shopping complexes, shopping malls, the recent constructions, they are provided with the lightning conductor. So there is no worry about the lightning because it cannot damage the building. Right? But if something there on an open ground where it is raining, where there is a chance of lightning, if there is any tree or people, those who are walking on a bare ground, so if the object, there are very few trees or very few objects, it's a plain ground, plain area, then there is a chance of charge getting discharged to the person. So a person cannot handle that much of electric flow through his body. Then they may get burnt, killed by the lightning. So this is how the lightning happens. This is the story of lightning. This is the discharge of accumulated electric charges in the clouds. That is what called as lightning. So now lightning safety, as it is a disaster, as it is a natural phenomena which will destroy the life and property, we need to learn about and what kind of care has to be taken when you are in such a situation. So when we hear the lightning sound, then we must be finding a safe place to stay. It is lightning outside, don't go away, don't go out from your house, right? So till everything becomes calm, wait for the last thunder, and after some time you go out. Not immediately after the last thunder, you cannot go out. If you are outside, better come to your house, stay at your house safely, right? The first identify that the lightning is happening and it is a dangerous phenomena which may threaten our life if you are in open ground. Because you know that it is electric discharge. The electricity from the clouds may be discharged to any objects on the surface. If you are close to that objects, you may get affected. Or the discharge may take place directly on your body also. So these are the problems. So what are the do's and don'ts? When you are outside, what to be done? If you are traveling by a car, keep all the doors and windows, everything shut and keep quiet in the car. That is the safe thing. If you are traveling by a bike, cycle, tractor, open gypsy, it is not advisable to travel. Very dangerous. You are likely to hit by the lightning. Do not go near any factories or machinery, any sheds, any construction areas, very dangerous. They are very best prone objects for the lightning. The lightning may strike them, the effect may fall on you. So if you are in a forest or if you are in a place where there are so many trees, better you stand under a smaller tree compared to a larger trees. Because the taller trees, they are much prone to the shorter ones for the lightning. See here, this is the surface of the earth. Here there are so many objects. Here is the clouds. So the clouds, they try to reach the taller ones first, then the shorter ones. This is the principle here. Right? So better if you wanted to wanted to take shelter under a tree, better select a smaller tree compared to a bigger tree. Anyway, standing near trees is also not advisable. If the tree gets struck, the tree, it may start burning. It may affect you. Right? It may cause damage to you. You may get the fire from the tree. So, stand away. Stand away from the objects which are very good conductors. Iron sheds, construction or machinery, they are metal parts. Easily they get the charge, electric charge. So, try to go away from those things if you are outside. Try to go away from them. If you are walking on an open ground, see that you are not standing beside an electric pole. Electric pole, it may easily get the electric charge. Stay away from trees and poles. Right? Try to find a safe place first. You are not able to find a safe place. Don't stand or don't lie on the ground. You can sit on the ground, sit on your feet, keep your head, shoulders on your knees. You sit in that position. So by that, you will become the shortest object here by sitting like that. If you are sitting in this position, keeping your legs folded, putting your head like this, you will be the shortest object compared to other objects. So there are less chances for the electric discharge to strike you. It will strike something else. That is what to be done when we are outside. It is raining outside. It is lightning outside. Never carry an umbrella. Because umbrella will be having a metal frame. If you are carrying an umbrella, there are more chances for the lightning to strike this umbrella. You get the charge. Right? Do not carry an umbrella when it is thunders and lightning when it is raining. Of course, we carry an umbrella during a rain. But if it is lightning, it is a dangerous one. That is, even if you are walking in open fields without much big trees, if you are carrying an umbrella, you are more prone to the lightning. Right? Do not carry an umbrella. Do not touch any metal objects. So if you are on outside, when it is raining and lightning, don't touch any metal grills, metal machinery. Any sheds are there with metal poles, don't touch the sheds. So that is to be done when you are outside. Better you have to find a safe place. See, the place is not having any metals or wires, poles. So by that you are protected. So that is all about outside. Now let us see what is inside. Inside the house. Inside the house, what do you have inside the house? Electric appliances. Electric appliances. What are they? TV, computer, telephone. These are the things. The TV is connected to the dish antenna outside through a cable. TV is connected to the electric current. The electric wires are connected to the pole outside. So from outside, the electric charge may enter your house through the cables. So switch off, unplug this TV, unplug the computer, unplug the refrigerator. Unplug the refrigerator. Do not use a wired telephone because the telephone wire will be connected to telephone poles. Don't use a wired telephone. What is called as a landline phone? The standard telephone connected through a cable. Use a wireless one. And don't give a call to your friend who is having a wired phone. So by that he may get a lightning effect, electric charge. So these the electric appliances are to be unplugged. So by that, if there is any over voltages because of the lightning in the transformer or in the electrical supply, these devices, they get spoiled or damaged. Electrical lights, you can switch them on, keep them switch on, but all the appliances must be disconnected. Right? So don't put your hands through the iron window grills or something outside. Don't take a bath during the lightning because the water acts as a conductor. The floating water may catch the shock, electric shock. Do not take bath during the lightning. So this kind of care has to be taken when you are inside your house. So here lightning conductors, already I told you about lightning conductors. So the lightning happens because of the discharge. So the buildings can be protected from lightning by arranging a lightning conductor. So lightning conductor is a metal rod which is higher than the building. See, on the building, this is the tallest one. See that no other object is taller than the lightning conductor. Here is a lightning conductor. Don't keep a pole for your clothes to dry. Don't keep any pole which is taller than the lightning conductor. Then it will take the electric discharge. See that the other poles and other things on the top of your building are lower than this lightning conductor. This should be the tallest one. The lightning conductor is connected to the ground by a safe connection, grounding wire. At the end, it is connected to a copper plate. Copper is a good conductor of electricity. Copper plate. This copper plate is fixed in the soil, in the ground. So when there is electric discharge, the lightning conductor takes the electricity and this electric current is passed through this special wire, special metal wire, and reaches the ground. It doesn't affect the building. If this lightning conductor is not there, it will affect the building. So the building gets damaged. The people get hurt. It doesn't happen because of the lightning conductor. So in the construction, they use metal columns, electric wires, electric cables, many things. Those things are also act as a conductor. Safely they bring the electricity to the ground. But we should not touch these metal objects, wires and all during a thunderstorm, which are used in that house construction. Anyway, this lightning conductor, it helps for the safe discharge of electricity that is taken by the building to the ground. So now let us look at another natural phenomena which is destructive. The previous one, lightning. Lightning is a destructive natural phenomena which causes damage to the life and also to the property. So the lightning itself cannot cause a huge devastation. It cannot cause mass destruction. Maybe a few people get affected by the lightning. But lightning is accompanied by cyclones. Cyclones leads to floods, which may result in mass destruction. Huge amount of people, huge number of people will be killed by this. But anyway, there is some time between the lightning and the floods. When the lightning takes place, it is an indication that it may lead to cyclone, it may lead to floods, so by that they can take preventive measures to save the people. So when such lightning, thunderstorms are seen, people can predict it may lead to cyclone and floods. So by that they can take proper care. So by that the lives can be saved. So by that the property can be saved. In case of the first one, that is lightning. But whereas in this case, like earthquake, it is a natural disaster which leads to mass destruction. Huge number of people will be killed by this natural disaster and a lot of property will be destroyed. Roads, buildings, especially the buildings are destructed by the earthquake. So many people get killed in these buildings, those who are living in the buildings. So they get hurt or they may be killed by the collapse of the buildings and huge structures, metal structures, glass structures, whatsoever the different things used in the construction of huge buildings. Right. So earthquake is a major natural disaster which leads to mass destruction of people and property. Now let us see the major earthquakes happened in India. 8th October 2005, Uri and Thangdar, North Kashmir. At this place there was a major earthquake. Later in 26th January in Bhuj in Gujarat. So here in Gujarat a major earthquake took place. Later we see that recently in Nepal there was a very big earthquake which led to the destruction of very old and ancient constructions. So Nepal is full of old constructions, traditional old constructions. Those all were destroyed and people were killed. So when there is an earthquake, it leads to destruction of life as well as property. So let us understand what are the physics behind So what are the scientific facts behind these earthquakes, how these earthquakes are caused, and what to be done when an earthquake hits? Now let us see what is an earthquake. I told you that earthquake is a natural disaster which causes lot of damage to the life and property. But actually what happens when an earthquake hits? Earthquake is the shaking of land, shaking of earth. So the earth on which we are standing, if it shakes, what happens? Naturally, the earth, the land on which we are standing, it is composed of various plates. The globe, it has got some land and water area. The land area, you see that land and underwater area, this is all made up of some plates. So these plates, they will be moving. So by that, there is a little shake. But generally, we don't notice the change, notice the shake that is happening to it as it is very small. We don't notice that. So right now we feel that yes, there is no shake under. We are very comfortable. But even then, there is a very little shake. It happens almost all the times, but we don't notice it. But when it is more, then you feel that it's shaking. The building in which you are standing, it will shake. All the objects fall down. So it causes some kind of vibration, shaky movements. All the objects fall down. You will fall down. Buildings get collapsed. Bridges get collapsed. Dams get collapsed. It depends upon the severity of the earthquake. If it is at a very small scale, you don't even notice that. If it is at a little large, you see the things falling. You notice that yes, it is a quake, earthquake. Right? Sometimes it will be very high. In such cases, the total building get collapsed. Bridges, they get collapsed. All the constructions, dams, reservoirs, they get collapsed. It all happens because of this earthquake. So earthquake, it begins at some point under the earth. Because I told you under the earth, there is an adjustment between the plates, tectonic plates. So due to that adjustment, we will see later what are these plates and how the adjustments takes place. Just here we are knowing the reason, because due to the adjustment of the plates, somewhere inside the earth, the earthquake starts, it begins. So this earthquake, it leads to shaking on the surface of the earth. So whatsoever is there on the surface, it gets shaken, sometimes get collapsed. It depends upon the severity. So what can an earthquake can cause? Earthquake, it causes destruction of buildings, bridges, dams, and even life, other properties. So all are destroyed. So because of an earthquake, all these things get destroyed. Any big towers, electric wires, so all these things get destroyed because of this. The earthquake, sometimes they can cause floods even. The floods are caused because the reservoirs may break down, the dams may get broken down, all the water will be flooded into the fields, leads to floods. Earthquake leads to floods. Earthquakes lead to landslides. Landslides is also a dangerous one. Which will see, so in a hilly area, the roads will be like this. So here is the road on which the vehicles move. So this is the hill which is having boulders, rocks. So here is the vehicle. So when there is an earthquake, the boulders from this part, they may fall down on the road. It may damage the vehicle. The vehicle may fall down in the valley. The people may die. So every time the landslides, we see that the destruction caused because of the landslide, this happens only in the hilly areas. If there is any railway track, the railway track get destroyed by the landslides. Right? The track may be destroyed or blocked by the landslides. So sometimes these landslides, they fall on some houses that are there on the hill steep. So in this way, some kind of destruction is caused because of landslides. And one more dangerous, destructive phenomena which happens because of earthquake, that is tsunami. Tsunami. If the earthquake, it happens in the ocean, then this earthquake, it causes tsunami. Tsunami means a big wave. The wave become much bigger than the normal size. Generally, the waves will be up to 1 or 2 meters high, 3 meters high, up to few meters. It will be hundreds of meters height. A huge wave. The water will be forming a huge wave and it will hit all the coastal area. Right? On 26th December 2004, a big tsunami hit all the coastal areas of India. Right? On 26th December 2004, a big tsunami, it hit all the coastal areas of India. In India, this was the biggest tsunami. Many of the places on the coastal area, they get damaged, destroyed because of these tsunamis. How the tsunamis are caused? They are caused because of the earthquake. If the earthquake happens on the land, that is a different case. If the earthquake happens in the ocean, it leads to tsunami. So in the same way, 26 December 2004, one earthquake, it struck in Indian Ocean. So all the coastal areas connected to this Indian Ocean, they get destroyed by this tsunami effect. So all this is caused because of the earthquakes. But how these earthquakes are caused? What is earthquake? Earthquake is nothing but the shaking of earth, shaking of the land on which we are standing. Depends upon the severity, the damage will be just spoiling or falling of objects to collapse of buildings, bridges, dams and all this. It depends upon its severity. Its severity is measured in Richter scale. So the Richter scale is the scale which will measure the severity of the earthquake. Now let us see what causes an earthquake, the scientific reason behind the earthquake. So in the ancient time, the people, they don't know about the real cause of earthquake. So they used to believe some mysterious stories. So different cultures, they have different stories about the earthquakes, but they don't know the exact fact. So what is the exact fact? What is the real fact and why the earthquake is caused? So as I told you, the earth, the surface of the earth is not a single unit. So the surface, the hard part of the earth, see, this is the earth, we know the earth, and if you see the cross section of the earth, we find three different layers. The top layer is crust, and the middle one is mantle, and the inner one is core. So these are the three layers by which the earth is made. The upper crust, the upper layer of the earth, the crust is also not a single unit. It is made up of so many segments called as plates. So the crust is made up of so many plates. So these plates, they are all in continuous motion. These plates will be moving all the time. They will be colliding with each other, or they will be brushing, sliding by rubbing each other. That is called as brushing of slides. So these slides, these plates, they will be brushing or they will be colliding. So when these collisions or brushings takes place at a higher scale, then we feel the earthquake on the surface. So that is the fact, reason behind this earthquake. So earth is having different layers, the center core, mantle and crust. The crust is not a single unit, it is made up of so many segments called as plates. So now let us see the different types of movements in the tectonic plates. So here the crust of the earth is not made up of single unit, it is made up of so many fragments. So each fragment is called as a plate. So when two plates, there is a continuous movement in the plates. When two plates brush past, when they are brushing together or colliding together, leads to earthquake. So in this first case, see the movement. This is a plate A, plate B. These two plates are colliding, hitting each other. So they may slide on each other like this. So this causes the earthquake. And in the second case, they are brushing. This one is moving in this direction This one is moving in this direction. So they are brushing. This one also causes the earthquake. So you may get a doubt, only the movement of the plates, that is the brushing or colliding of this kind of movements of the plates, only bring the earthquake or anything else? Of course, there are other reasons also for earthquake. What are they? That is, one, volcano eruption. If a volcano erupts, it may lead to an earthquake. Especially undersea earthquakes are happened because of volcano eruptions. Under the sea, some volcano may get erupted. Because of this volcanic eruption, it may lead to earthquake, it leads to tsunamis. Second one, meteors. Any meteorite, foreign object hitting the earth, if it happens, generally, if the meteors are of small size, when they enter into the atmosphere of the earth, they are burnt by the friction between the air and the meteor. But sometimes if they are big enough, huge enough, not affected by the friction, of course the friction damages them, still they remain as a huge rock boulder, and if they hit the earth, it leads to tremors, earthquake. The third case is explosion of nuclear weapons under the ground. The nuclear weapons, the nuclear missiles, the nuclear bombs are tested by exploding them underground, because if they are exploded outside to test that, it leads to large devastation and pollution. So while testing, the nuclear weapons are tested underground, then also it leads to earthquake. But these are very rare cases. Volcanic eruption, meteors and explosion of nuclear weapons underground. These are all the rare cases. In general, they are happened because of the movements of these plates. So now let us see. The reason behind the earthquake, we have seen it is because of the movement of the tectonic plates. It leads to earthquake. So this movement, the effect of the movement is more at the boundaries of the plates. Say this is a particular plate and this is one more plate. So these are the boundaries, the two boundaries of this plate A and B. At this particular zone, the effect of the earthquake is more. The plates are moving. All the way the whole plate is moving. But here the effect is less. At the boundaries, the impact is more. Even if you look at India map, even in India, we have certain zones at where the boundaries of these plates meet. So when there is a collision or brushing, there will be a huge earthquake. The impact is more in those places. So these particular zones are called as seismic zones or fault zones. So what are these zones? The zones which are prone to earthquake. The zones which have the boundaries of the tectonic plates, which are very prone to earthquake. Such kind of zones are called as seismic earthquakes or fault zones. Let's see where we have these seismic or fault zones in India. Kashmir, Western and Central Himalayas, and Northeast, Run of Kutch, and Rajasthan, northeast part here, most of the northeast part, and Rajasthan, and the Indo-Gangetic Plain. So these are the places which are prone to earthquake, where they have the boundaries of the tectonic plates which are more affected by the earthquake. The movement of the plates, it creates destruction at this particular zones, means the zones which consist the boundaries of the plates. So those zones are called as fault zones or seismic zones. So now when we are talking about earthquake, we are discussing its magnitude. Some places the earthquakes are not very high, low. So the magnitude, severe earthquake or not a very big earthquake. But how it is measured? The earthquakes are measured by using a scale called as Richter scale, also pronounced as Richter scale or Richter scale. You can even call it as a Richter scale, as it is a name of a person. So what is this scale? So according to this scale, the severity of the earthquake, the magnitude of the earthquake, it crosses 7 on this scale. It is a huge earthquake, severe earthquake, destructive earthquake when it crosses 7. So the earthquakes that happened in Bhuj and Kashmir, they are 7.5. 7.5 in the sense huge, big earthquakes. So whenever you see the news about an earthquake, you will see the news. In that news, they will specify the earthquake is 0.6 on Richter scale, 0.7, 7.5 on Richter scale, 6.5 on Richter scale. So when it indicates more than 7, you can estimate that it is a huge earthquake, severe earthquake. When it is told some 5.5, 4.5, this is a very low value. So the basing on the magnitude, the Richter scale helpful to identify the severity of the earthquake, right? But how the earthquake is recorded, measured? So there is an earthquake, how it is measured? Its severity, how it is measured? It is measured with an instrument called as seismograph. Seismograph is an instrument. This instrument will have a cylindrical drum. On the drum there will be a paper roll, and here it will be having a suspended pen. So when there is an earthquake, the pen, it vibrates. So with that the drum rotates, then the vibrating pen, it will make some wave-like markings. So depending upon the measurement of the wave-like markings, they will identify the severity of the earthquake. So in ancient China, there were so many different kind of instruments to estimate the severity of the earthquake. So however, we have different equipment to estimate the severity of the earthquake, but still we are failing to predict the happening of earthquake. So we cannot exactly estimate when an earthquake takes place. There are so many technologies and equipment are invented so far, but still we are failing. We have to find out some more technology, some more equipment, tools to predict the earthquakes exactly. We are not able to, but here we can measure the earthquake. So what is its magnitude, whether it is a big or a small earthquake, that we can do with the help of a seismograph. So now let us look at the prevention of damage from the earthquakes. You cannot prevent the earthquake, but you can prevent the damage. How? We learned that basically the earthquake, it causes destruction, demolition of buildings, constructions, dams, reservoirs and all. So as we know that if an earthquake happens, it will destroy the buildings, especially in the seismic zones, the zones which are prone to earthquakes. In that particular zones, when a building is constructed, proper care has to be taken. In the first part we discussed it, the buildings are equipped with lightning conductors to prevent the lightning effect. In the same way, when a building is constructed, what kind of care has to be taken? So the construction of a building, the first thing is the design of the building. See that the designs, if they are constructing a building in a seismic zone, see that the buildings are not multi-storied. It should be having proper design. It should be having the earthquake resistant design. The footing, whatever is kept, it should be having the good resistance to the earthquake up to some level. The second thing is material. Whatever the material used in the construction of the building. Certain zones are very prone to earthquakes. Quite often it happens. Every 3 months, 6 months earthquakes happen. In such cases, every time if the buildings get collapsed, again they are constructing, it is a difficult task. Moreover, if the building is constructed with a huge amount of iron, concrete and glass fixtures, they get destroyed and they damage the property and they cause harm to the people. See, in a seismic zone, you have constructed a house with very good glass elevation. So the elevation means the front part of the house, everything you cladded with the glass. So if earthquake happens, all the glass breaks and it may fall on the people who are outside, who are inside, everybody will hurt. So you wanted your room to be so luxurious, you have gone for a false ceiling or you have gone for a glass ceiling. So it looks so nice to see, but when an earthquake happens, all the glass ceiling may fall on you. In your office, you want everything glass partitions. If your office is in a seismic zone, all the glass partitions will break. And what happens to the people, those who are close by? Just imagine. So when the building is constructed, if the area is earthquake prone area, seismic zone, then the care has to be taken while choosing the materials to construct the building, the design of the building. So, while constructing a building, the design, the material and everything has to be taken care. So, the next thing, fixtures. So, this is not mostly related to the construction of a new house. Even in your house, if you are locating in an earthquake prone area, so in your house, certain things just you will make them stand. An almirah is there, you will make it stand. But if there is an earthquake, because of the shake, the almirah may fall on the people, those who are sleeping below the almirah. Cupboards, you will be placing so many glass items, decorative items, flower vases, everything in the cupboard. The cupboard may fall. When there is no earthquake, it is stand still, fixed, firm. Okay, you feel it, yes, it is fixed. There is no shake in that. But when there is an earthquake, everything, whatever the books, decorative items, TV set, music set, everything will fall down. So we should see that such almirahs and cupboards are fixed to the wall with nail or screw system. So even though there is an earthquake, the cupboard or almirah may not fall on you. You doesn't get hurt. Even sometimes when you place a wall clock on the wall, a calendar, a photo frame, you don't think that it will fall, because you will be very sure that it is properly fixed with a nail. In normal cases, the photo frame may not fall. But in cases like earthquake, the photo frame, if it is of big size, if the photo frame it collapses, all the glass pieces get shattered on the people, those who are there. So just go to your house, look at your room and just think, if an earthquake happens, what things are supposed to fall. So if we are in a earthquake prone area, we must take all this care in our house. So if you are going for a new house, the construction, we should consult an architect, experienced architect. The Central Building Research Institute, Roorkee, those people, they have developed a design, so which is earthquake proof. So we can take such kind of designs, or we can consult an experienced architect when we go for planning to construct a house. So there we can take care like its design and materials if we are in an earthquake prone area. If you are in a flood prone area, your design and everything must be preventive to that floods, whatsoever the natural disaster. So fixtures in the house, this everyone can take care. And if the building is very big, definitely it should have firefighting and rescue exits. Firefighting equipment facility. Firefighting, you need to have the carbon dioxide gas cylinders. So by that, the fire extinguishers, they are called as, they should be fixed, because during earthquakes, fire may catch. Because when an earthquake is there shaking, the electrical wires get detached and leads to short circuit. The short circuit may flare up the fires. So firefighting equipment must be there. The design should allow the firefighting people to come in. There should be water piping system to all the building to stop the fire, and there should be emergency exit, so by that the people can escape from the building. See, there is a very big building which is having some 15 to 20 rooms, and there is only one door to come out. If there any earthquake happens or fire accidents happen, all the people cannot come through the single entrance. So there should be multiple entrances. There should be emergency exits or rescue exits, so by that the people can exit through those emergency doors and save their lives. So in this way, to protect against earthquakes, the design, the construction, the material of buildings and fixtures of the buildings and the entry and exits of the buildings are to be made according to the disasters. So now let us see the second part in the protection against earthquakes. So we have seen the preventive measures in constructing or design or keeping the things at home. If an earthquake happens, what to be done? You are in an earthquake, what to be done? First, let us look at the at home. If you are at home and there is an earthquake, then what you should do? First thing is, stay away from tall things. Tall things like cupboards, almirahs, shelves, they may fall on you, right? And the objects that are kept on the shades, they may fall on you. So you have to stay away from all this carefully. Now where to stay? A better place to stay is, you should duck under a table. You should be duck under a table. What is this duck? Under a table. Duck under a table in the sense, if this is the table, you should sit under the table like this. Keeping your head on your knees, you should sit like this. So by that you are protected. Your head must be protected because certain ceiling slabs may fall down. If you have a false ceiling, the roof, certain things may fall down. The tall objects may fall down. If you are duck under a table, so your head is not damaged. If you are on bed, stay on bed, protect your head with a pillow. So by this way, if you are at home, you can protect yourself, right? If you are at outdoors, here stay away from what? From trees, buildings and electric poles. Because the electric wires, they may get detached and may fall on you. You may get electric shock. If there are any overhead poles, just stay away. Stand in a open ground, clear ground. Just sit, drop on the ground. So by that you will be protected. And the other thing, if you are in a car or a bus, don't get panic and don't jump from the bus. Don't jump from the car. You stay in the bus or a car, ask the driver to stop in a place slowly. So till the trimmers are stopped, you can stay, later you can go. So that is the better option. So in the vehicle, which vehicle you are there, it is better to stay in the vehicle and see that the vehicle is stopped at a safe place for some time till the trimmers get stopped. This is what we can do when there is an earthquake. In this way, we can get protection against earthquake, during earthquake. So these are some natural phenomena. Two natural phenomena which are destructive and cause damage to the life and property are discussed in this lesson. They are the lightning and the second one is the earthquake. So we have seen what are the causes of these natural phenomena and how these natural phenomena are predicted or how they are measured, and what are the effects or impact of these natural phenomena, and what are the preventive measures or steps to be taken to avoid damage by this natural phenomena in this lesson.